Welcome, everyone, to the Fright Corner podcast. I'm your host, John, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Jeff. Jeff, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, yeah, doing great. Glad to be on here podcasting. We had a couple of hiccups getting this episode out, but we're making up for it, so.
Oh, yeah. Life happens.
Oh, yeah, just, things happen, and, we both have busy lives on top of doing this, so. Yeah, deal with it. Okay, so tonight, as I mentioned on Twitter, we're going to talk about Event Horizon from 1997 and then The Changeling from 1980. We both kind of looked through to pick a couple of movies, and I remember seeing The Changeling a long time ago, and I said, hey, we got to watch that one, and then Jeff brought up Event Horizon. I said, yeah, because I felt it's an underrated movie for what it is.
Oh, yeah, I've always been kind of into the space thing, too, so this really, was perfect for me.
Oh, yeah. You got to suspend some disbelief because it is still science fiction, horror type thing, but yeah, it's really neat, though. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I guess we will go ahead and start with Event Horizon from 1997. Has a 6.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb. It was released back on August 15th, 1997. Rated R. It's a spaceship that disappeared into a black hole and has now returned with someone or something new on board. It was directed by Paul Anderson, who has done Resident Evil, as well as the Mortal Kombat movies and other ones like that. The two big stars, of course, are Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill. The thing about this one, though, that got me is the budget on it was $60 million. Opening weekend, it made like $9.5 million. By the time it came out of the theaters in October, it only made $26 million, a little over $26.5 million or so. So technically, it bombed in the theaters. Didn't even make its budget back, which is pretty sad because, like I said, I still think this is an underrated movie, but it seems like it's picked up more notoriety now. It seems like more people are enjoying it now than they did then. So maybe it was just out of time or something for, came out.
That's kind of what I was wondering. I was trying to remember when exactly, Apollo 11 or Apollo 13 came out. Because I feel like that was also the late 90s. And at first I was thinking maybe it wasn't the best time for space movies. But then again, I feel like Apollo 13 might have been around that time. So it would almost seem like it was a good time for space movies. I don't know.
Apollo 13 was in 95, so it was a couple of years before that.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure what the real reason was.
I mean, I don't know if maybe, horror was up and down in the 90s anyway, and so maybe nobody wanted to jump on that, a sci-fi horror movie again. Alien was such a big deal in 1970, they pulled it off really good, or the 70s, I should say. They pulled that off really well for a sci-fi horror movie that gave you everything, but maybe they're afraid it's going to be something like that. I mean, I can't remember the promotion on this thing, in all honesty. I remember seeing it on video when it came out on video. I watched it and thought it was really good. I thought, wow, I wish I would have known about this one earlier. But,
yeah, for sure.
we're jumping ahead here. Let's see, what is it, 2047, and they successfully colonize the moon and other planets, and they keep venturing into space. Well, Sam Neill's character, which is Dr. Weir, helped build the ship to, make a wormhole and travel deeper into space. Well, the Event Horizon is the ship, and it fired up and done it, but then it disappeared, and they couldn't find it. And that was... let's see, I'm trying to read here. 2040 is when it disappeared. And then it comes back in the year 2047. There's no crew, everybody's presumed dead. So, of course, they go on a rescue mission to get the ship and see if there's anybody alive. I thought Lawrence Fishburne did pretty good in this one for being the captain of the Lewis and Clark, which is kind of neat, exploring.
Oh yeah, I loved him in this movie.
And I also like Sam Neill in this movie too. He wasn't giving a whole lot away. He kind of explains everything that's kind of going on, and to a point, of how the ship works and stuff. They give an explanation for it, but I mean, I think the acting worked well in this one. I mean, you just didn't know what to expect when they were going to the ship. You didn't know what to really expect. What were they going to find?
Yeah, and this was one of those movies where, like, I really was kind of on the edge of my seat, and I was in suspense when a lot of this stuff was happening. Like, there's a couple scenes where, like, there's an explosion and the airlock kind of gets compromised, and so they're, like, hanging onto the ship, trying not to be cast out into space, and all these scenes, like, just really were tension-filled and actually had me invested in this movie, and that doesn't always happen anymore with movies, so I definitely applauded on that. And like you said, all the acting was spot on. I have no complaints whatsoever, and usually there's something, but with this one, I mean, everybody was great, and especially Sam Neill. I'm a huge fan of him. I know a lot of people probably recognize him from the Jurassic Park movies, 1 and 3, I believe, so that was really cool for me to see him in it as well. And also Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams. So, yeah, Sam Neill is a great actor in my opinion, and also having a good old Morpheus in there was not a bad thing either, because he really felt like a leader.
Yeah, he did. He played that role as the leader. Like, this is what we're gonna do, and we don't. He played that character just right for what it needed to be. I mean, he was like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, this, and this, and we're getting out of here. And that's what I liked about it, is because when they get onto the ship, it's actually, the ship seems to be a living thing itself. It's giving them hallucinations of their worst fears and everything, and screwing with them. So it's like, wherever it went and came back from, of course, they play it off that it went to hell and back. Probably went to another dimension. I don't know if that's necessarily hell or not, but whatever it was, it corrupted that ship. Whatever kind of, I don't know, energy, entity, life force or something. Which I thought was pretty neat, because, when you come to think of it, it's like, man, the ship's alive.
Yeah.
That's what's screwing with them.
Yeah, I can't remember if they called it an EM drive in the movie or not, but that's essentially kind of what it was. And it was really cool, because that was especially ahead of its time, because we're just now getting the EM drive, like, actually implemented. So, I mean, and listening to him talking about the space-time continuum and, like, moving space, like, bending it, like he used the analogy of having a flat surface, like a piece of paper, and then you take the piece of paper and put it together and poke a hole through it, and so you're, like, jumping over space or through space, almost like going over a carpet. And, like, that's stuff that I've talked about on my former podcast, Edge of the Earth. Like, this is real science, and this is back in the 90s, like, we're still learning all this stuff even now. So very topical movie and ahead of its time in that aspect.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, they were definitely ahead of their time. We're talking, almost 20 years ago. I'm sure this has been talked about for a long time, though. I know NASA has been talking about this for a long time, but, they were kind of taking the step up, like, hey, let's use some of what they're saying, and then let's just put our twist on it and see how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the idea that the fire and stuff, when they'd show it, almost looked like liquid when it was burning, because with no gravity and stuff. Although I'm not sure how fire would exactly work in space if there's no oxygen to feed it. But that's whatever, I guess.
Right,
Overlook that part. That's my rational mind talking.
No, there are parts like that, especially like with, you said it was 7 years. Well, like, blood would have dried in about 7 years of time. I mean, the liquid blood droplets, they'd be nearly spherical due to the surface tension, kind of like the coolant. So, I mean, some of this stuff you just gotta go with it, not think too deeply about it, I guess.
No, and that's the thing with some of these movies. You kind of have to suspend reality a little bit. And you gotta make the decision on yourself. How much are you going to suspend reality? And I had no problem suspending it for this one, because it worked out. I don't have nothing bad to say about the movie. I really liked the way it played out. It had good pacing to my into my knowledge anyway. I felt that it was good paced. It wasn't like it was too fast or too slow. I think it was right there in the middle where it should have been for this type of movie. I think it worked out real well.
Yeah, the only pacing issue I would have a small complaint with is at the very end, and again, spoilers here, at the very end when Sam Neill's character kind of turns dark, goes evil. It seemed like it happened kind of fast all at once, but then again, like there were these, I don't know what we wanted to call them, aliens or dark entities or whatever, taking over their bodies and kind of making them not themselves. It seemed like it happened kind of fast, but then again, if it was like a switch that you can flip on and he's not himself anymore, then yeah, I guess that could be the case. But it just felt a little rushed to me at the very end when Sam Neill went dark. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, that would be kind of rushed a little bit. It does seem like they kind of rushed that a little bit toward the end. Maybe if he'd been turning earlier, even earlier than what they showed him turning. Maybe if it
Yeah.
had been, just a little bit earlier, maybe we could have, would have looked out. Maybe it would have been more evened out, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and you could tell. Yeah, and you could tell he was withholding some information. Like he might have known a little bit more than he was letting on, but still, like he wasn't in it maliciously. It didn't seem like. So it's hard to say, really.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what about the ending? I mean, what you? I mean, obviously, of course, like I said, with spoilers here. They split the ship in two, and the gravity drive pulls the ship into the wormhole, and they take Weir and Miller with it. And, obviously, a couple of them survive, and they just have to. Of course, they go into stasis on the way to Earth. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think that was a good way to end it? Because like, can the ship come back?
Yeah, I mean, as much as they could have wrapped up that whole storyline with it being so, no pun intended, out of this world, so supernatural, I think that's probably about the best they could have done. I mean, especially with, like, this movie is filled with the hallucinations and dream sequences almost. So, like, having them wake up out of the pods and they think that it's a dream sequence again, but then they wake up for a second time, a dream within a dream or whatever. And then they're kind of rescued that way. I guess it was a callback to earlier in the film, I guess, when they're, hearing voices and the hallucinations and all that. So I don't know. It was an okay way for ending it. I definitely, the makeup on Sam Neill at the very end there was perfect. Yes. I mean, it looked fantastic. I mean, gross, but fantastic.
Oh, yeah, but that's what they were going for, and I think they nailed it. I mean, I enjoyed that. The special effects, some of them kind of hold up, some of them don't.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was 97, so, you got to give it a little bit of a pass, because, we're, like I said, about 20 years later, so we've advanced quite a bit. But no, I thought the makeup on him was spot on. I mean, it was gruesome, it was scary, it was, you just knew it was horrible, whatever was going on.
Yeah, I think the worst of the special effects would be like kind of early on in the movie when you're seeing like tools and objects in that might have been during the scene, but you could tell it looked like PlayStation 2 game something, but it was good for the time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I believe so. I mean, I think it was for the time it was. But no, I don't got a whole lot bad to say about it. Like I said, a couple of things there, like we said, with Sam Neill's character turning dark all of a sudden, maybe a little bit longer on that. But other than that, I think I'm okay with the rest of the movie. Like I said, special effects kind of don't hold up, but that's no big deal. I can live with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it like probably a solid 4 out of 5 for what it was. I think it deserves that.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit right on there with you. I was thinking 4 out of 5 because by all means, it's not a perfect movie. It's not for everybody, but I thought it was pretty good for being a sci-fi horror movie, and I feel it was very underrated. And it's too bad that it didn't get a bigger bang at the box office, because maybe they could have done a second one or something. Maybe the ship came back eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to commend it for. I mean, it's in space. They could have easily made another horror film about a murderer here on Earth or something, and just gone with the normal deal. They took it to space, and like it was really creative, and they did something different with it. So.
Yeah, and I think that was a good idea. I'm very glad they did that. And I think the story worked out real well. I think the screenplay is good. I like the dialogue was good. Nothing too over the top, so it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Any
Well, one scene that I think people will definitely remember is when one of the characters named Justin gets ejected out into space. He kind of gets possessed by the alien thing or whatever, and he walks into the airlock and he presses the button, and then it's like he regains consciousness as it's happening. So he like wakes up just in time to get ejected out into space, and like um, Lawrence Fishburne, his character is like going to save him, at the last second, and that was a really tense scene. Just seeing a human body get launched into space with no suit or anything like that. Just like watching what would happen to it. It wasn't totally accurate, but I think part of it was just kind of spiced up so that people could really see what was going on. Because I think most of the stuff that would happen to you in space would be internal. That's not really visible. So, like what happened to him.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
freeze to death first. I mean, because
Yeah.
negative some odd degrees. I mean, you're gonna freeze to death and you're not gonna have any air. You're gonna be an ice cube for, it's like it's done. It'll almost be instant.
Yeah. I mean, they say most people would remain conscious for about 10 to 20 seconds. The thing with not freezing is, I guess, the lack of gas molecules makes it difficult for heat to actually leave the body. Mm-hmm. So that's why he didn't freeze instantly, but he would freeze over time, obviously.
Yeah, over time. But you definitely lose your oxygen and no air.
Yeah. So, but that's the last thing I'll say about that is that scene alone is just like, oh, it really sticks with you. But anyway, we'll move on, I guess.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. We'll go on to The Changeling from 1980. It's released on March 28th. It has a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. This movie was directed by Peter Medek. This is a Canadian film. It was filmed in Canada, done by Canadian people, but it stars some American actors as George C. Scott and Trish Vanderveer, which are two major actors of the time. I mean, George C. Scott, this guy played Patton. I mean, he was huge.
Yeah, I've heard his roles were usually loud and yelling, and so this film's a big departure from that.
Yes, it is. I mean, this is he's a very brooding, guy, very, strong, and, this movie gets him down to a different level. Let's see, the plot of it is a man staying in a secluded historical mansion finds himself being haunted by the presence of a specter. And I think that pretty well, sums it up. I don't know. The big thing on this one is it starts out. I'm going to warn people. This is not a fast burn movie. This is a slow burn. If you want something instant, bloody, gory, jump scares, and everything else, don't watch it. It's not for you. But if you like a good story, a mystery, some creepy stuff going on, where less is more, this is the ideal movie for people like that. I mean, that's why I like it. And the setting, I love the house in this movie. It has its own setting, and that's beside the point. But I mean, that's a character of its own, I should say.
Yeah, it really is. It sets the tone perfectly for that.
And I mean, the tone of the movie is pretty dreadful anyway from the beginning, because this guy's a composer, and he sees his wife and child get killed within the first 5 minutes of the movie. So he's living with a lot of regret already. And then he's put in this situation. He moves away, goes to Seattle, gonna work on his composing and stuff, and he gets set up renting out this house from the historical society that turns out to have a little haunting of its own. And just the stuff in the movie, I mean, how big it is. You can just hear that piano. I mean, whenever you hear that piano, just those few chords he's playing over and over and over, just the individual notes, just ding, ding. I mean, just sometimes that's all you hear in the movie. It's like, what the hell? I mean, it just.
Yeah.
I thought they did pretty good with it. I mean, this was. I really enjoyed this one. I think this was by far a really good one for me, because I like some of these movies. I mean, I like the blood, guts, gore, and stuff like that. But I also like having the idea that it's not just, they're not going to take you, like, here, we're going to lead you to the trough and you're going to drink here. It's like, I don't have to have that all the time. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I kind of like to figure some stuff out on myself, too.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, like you said, with this being kind of a slow burn movie, I think that it's almost kind of like a book in my mind, whereas like it really puts you into the situation, you kind of settle in, you learn the characters, everything kind of happens slowly and subtly, and then when things start really happening, you kind of empathize with the characters more, and you're more invested in like going through this experience with them.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, just the subtleness. So the house having all the different corridors and stuff to go through. It's got a music room. It's got a library. The kitchen. All that stuff. The living room, the entryway. It all has unique character. And by far, I mean, there's stuff that is coming. Stuff's going on. My thing is the red ball going down the stairs can be one of the freakiest things you would hear, as it's losing its height as it comes down those stairs. Just doop, 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 doop.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
no.
there's a lot of other to go with it. He takes it and throws the ball away and comes back to the house, and it comes right back down the stairs. It's like, still there.
Yeah.
And
There was a
then
lot of stuff like that. Did you think that the wheelchair scene was scary to you?
I think it could be taken that way. I mean, it's kind of freaky. You don't want to be chased by a wheelchair by any means. That thing's coming
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
Among other things. I mean, also, earlier in the when they have the séance. Now, see, I've seen several séance scenes. Like the Legend of Hell House has one that's a really good one. This one was good, and I really think that there was a movie that came out in the '90s called The Others. I don't remember if you remember seeing that one or not. Had Nicole
Yeah, I
Kidman.
think I did. Oh, yeah, I did.
That séance scene, they had to have took the cues from this movie because it was almost identical.
Yeah. I think a lot of movies could have taken inspiration from this one.
I really do, because I've seen the bouncing ball before. Well, I've seen this before. I've seen this, but this is where some of it kind of started at. I really think they take a lot of cues from this movie. Yeah, like I said, I think it was really good. I do like the idea that when he's going back through and he's by, they're having the seance, everybody's there, you feel like you're in comfort, he's around people. The next scene, he's by himself listening to this tape, and he's hearing the boy talk, about father killed me and, my medal and all this other stuff, and then it's like, fine, I'll show you what happened to me. And then it shows you what happened in the movie, what happened to this kid.
Yeah.
That's haunting him. And then the next scene, he's dreaded of this, and then the next scene, Claire comes back, who was the one that helped rent out the house for him. She comes back and she can't take it. She's crying, she's upset. And then she walks, and the look on her face, she just stops. And she's looking up the stairs, and we don't see what she's looking at, but she has that terrified look on her face. Then, he's in there, what is it? Turn around, you see that wheelchair at the top of the stairs. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, but the look of terror on her face was so good. Because, I mean, she's upset, she's crying, all of a sudden just shock and terror, and that's it, froze.
Yeah. I remember that for sure.
And I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I liked the idea of the story of it. I think it had a good plot to it. And, the way it turns out, unfortunately, the house is destroyed at the end, but...
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then, the boy Joseph is the one that was killed. He first starts out, he's trying to communicate, but it seems like he gets very aggravated later in the story, in the movie. It's like, I want this exposed, and he's trying to expose it, and he's getting frustrated because he doesn't know what else to do to get it out there. It's like, what else do you want me to do? And it seems like he's getting angrier and angrier the farther it goes on.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like that. I mean, that's kind of another common theme with these hauntings of this sort is, ghosts tend to get more irritated and activity picks up.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it picks up really good here at the end. I mean, the gal, that Claire comes back, she thinks that he's in the house, and it's using his voice to lure her upstairs, and she's getting chased by that freaking wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, you think that, of course, we're looking at what we know he's not there, but she doesn't know that he's not there. And you get that suspenseful feeling like, no, just leave, just leave. No,
Yeah,
don't go
yeah.
upstairs, don't go up there, don't go up there. He's not calling for you.
I think I read it was Roger and Ebert. They gave the movie thumbs down, and they said the wheelchair, the chasing scene specifically, wasn't scary at all. But I think they were just not the right people for reviewing this kind of movie anyway.
Roger and Ebert exactly the best. They don't have the best taste in movies. Come on, they've walked out on movies that I thought were great.
Yeah. Always makes you wonder why those guys got so famous for what they did. But I guess it was just it was a gimmick.
They bashed horror movies all the time. They say it was just trash. Everything was trash. To them, probably horror movies were just a step above pornography to them.
Probably.
Because, they trashed Friday the 13th. They trashed Halloween. They trashed a lot of movies. Walked out of a lot of movies. And it's like, they wouldn't even give them a chance.
Yeah, and yet this one won all these awards that we were talking about this before the show. It's got tons of awards, and horror movies don't even typically get that many awards.
Because here's the thing. It was a Canadian movie. So when it went to kind of awards, it wasn't Academy Awards necessarily for America, but it went to these awards, the award shows like the Genie Awards, which were in Canada, not America. So they got, like I said, looking here, the stuff they won. Best Motion Picture, Best Performance by a Foreign Actress, because Trish Van Devere was an American playing a Canadian movie. She was a foreign actress. Best Performance by a Foreign Actor, George C. Scott. Best Screenplay Adapted from Another Medium. Best Achievement in Cinematography. Best Achievement in Art Direction, Production Design. Best Sound Editing. Best Achievement in Sound. It won a lot of awards for this movie in Canada, so, it was... I think it was well-deserved.
Yeah, no, it really was.
Because the sound, it's nothing over the top, but like I said, just hearing him, he's playing the piano and it sounds really good, and then every once in a while he's just sitting there just hitting one key at a time. And that's just like an omnibus sound. And I think, and when I go back and I start thinking stuff, now I think wherever I remember seeing a ball coming down the, the stairs or something in one of these movies, I'm going to remember this movie. Like, yep, that's where they got that from.
Yeah, totally agree. And I didn't even know it, but this movie is also kind of special to me because the real-life haunted house where the real events supposedly took place was at Henry Treat Rogers Mansion, which was located at 1739 East 13th Avenue, Cheeseman Park in Denver, Colorado. The house has been demolished, but Cheeseman Park, I have actually done some ghost hunting. Well, it was Chessman in the movie, but it's Cheeseman in real life.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So it was kind of a tribute to that in that way. But Cheeseman Park is where I've done some actual ghost hunting. And so, I've been to right where that house, the real house was. So that's just kind of cool for me.
Well, isn't there a park there now?
Yeah. Cheeseman Park is what it actually used to be a cemetery. And
yes.
the deal is why it's so haunted is because they were supposed to, it was upon the families to move the graves out. And not all the families were able to get, their loved ones who are buried there moved before they decided to go ahead and turn it into a park. So there's literally children playing in this park every day, and about 6 feet under them, dead bodies.
Well, I remember reading an article in 2011 when they were putting an irrigation system in. They actually when they were digging the irrigation, they found 2 bodies. It's like,
yeah.
Because I think what it wound up being was trying to read a little bit on, like I said, they were supposed to move the bodies, but then they wound up hiring somebody to do it, the cheapest bidder. And he, of course, he didn't move all of them. They said that it was so bad that they said there'd be body parts in the town when they were dragging them out of there. And they would just put several together. They said it was cheaper to get these little caskets and just hack them and pack them all in there and move the stones and just bury a few coffins and call it good.
Yeah, that's rough.
And like I said, when they've done the irrigation, this was not news, but it was, in the local news, the Denver news, that they still found dead bodies. They were still finding skeletons of people in 2011. That was just,
5
years ago?
Yeah, exactly. So either way, I mean, it's just a pretty cool movie, and I have a little tie to it in that aspect. So pretty neat.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the based on true story stuff, and I mean, the worst part of his account for the true story thing is the fact that he was the only one to witness it. So
Right. Yeah.
that hurts his credibility, but neither here nor there, he wrote a heck of a ghost story for sure.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
a good mystery, Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this one a solid 4.5 out of 5. I mean, I really got to. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but it's dang near perfect for that type of movie for me.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I'm going to go with just a 4 out of 5 just because of the slow pacing, but in a way that was to its credit as well. So I don't know. I mean, I think both these movies, Event Horizon and this one, were both pretty equal for me. So good week, good reviews this week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this week coming up, we have a guest coming on that we're going to record with, and we're actually going to do the 1980 Maniac and the 2012 remake starring Elijah Wood, Maniac. I'm looking forward to these because it's been a while since I've seen the 1980 Maniac. I've seen the remake not too long ago, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, in 1980 when this movie came out, there was a lot of controversy around it, and it starred one main actor, and most people remember him as in the movie Rocky, the original Rocky movie, back in '72, he was collecting for the mob. Well, the mob boss he was collecting is actually the Maniac in that movie.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's about all I can remember him from. He may have been more. I'll have to research a little bit more on that one, but no, that's what we got coming up. And December we got some Christmas horror coming up for the season. We'll have another guest coming on for that one. So we got some good things coming up here, I think.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
And of course we're still working on, of course I posted a YouTube video of just the Resident Evil 7 Biohazard demo. It's a two-parter. Jeff's posted a few videos up for some playthroughs.
Yeah, we've got a couple new videos on the Fright Corner YouTube page. You might want to check those out. They might be linked in the description of this show, but yeah, definitely check those out. If you like horror video games, get some visual stuff to go with the audio. It's pretty cool. I like these games that I have up there. I think the main one right now is Blameless, so I would definitely check that one out.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to work on playthrough through the Resident Evil games. We'll just start out. Let's see what I can come up with. See, I've got Bloodborne. I still got to do something on The Evil Within. I've got several. I thought about doing a marathon on that Until Dawn game because you can play it in about 8 hours. And I considered, trying to put something out. If anybody'd be interested in watching, thought about doing a live stream and just live stream that thing all the way through and just play it one night.
That'd be very cool.
Stuff. Maybe get some reaction out of people, to help me make the decisions of the game. Because that game has so many different ways it can end and go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so many avenues of it. The butterfly effect type thing of the game. So, I mean, I definitely would like to do something like that. And I know that's going to be something I'm going to try to figure out when I get some time off in the holidays. Maybe I'll pull an all-nighter and stream it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I would watch that.
Yeah, I'd let everybody know. And I mean, I probably won't do any commentary per se on it because I think that the atmosphere and the sound and the dialogue in the game provides enough. So that's where, of course, there's Twitter. Always hit me there and at the Fright Corner. And, and if I'm streaming it, you'll be able to have comments right there if you're watching. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, don't forget, hit Jeff up at Real Jeff Jarman on Twitter.
Actually, I have changed one more time. I'm sorry, everyone. Sorry. So basically, what used to be the Edge of the Earth podcast Twitter is just now my personal one for gaming and all that. So it's at Darkonvale. But if you just search Jeff Jarman on Twitter, you can find it that way as well. But Dark Unveil, it's exactly how it sounds, is how you spell it. So I'm on there. Just broke 1,000 followers. Pretty excited for that. And then I saw the Fright Corner has even more than that. So that's pretty cool for both of us. And yeah, I mean, check out my YouTube channel as well. Really, you could just go to jeffjarman.tk and find everything there. Everything's in one place. Even the Fright Corner's on that website as well. So yeah, check it out.
And for the website, I am currently working on a short story. This has taken me a while. I got several ideas, and I'm trying to mash them up into something good. I might wind up with 2 or 3 stories out of it that I'm going to wind up posting on the website. And then I'm working on some like small little reviews and some opinion reviews and some of my opinion to talk about with the state of horror now. Why don't we have R-rated horror so much anymore? And some funny ones like what happened to the boobs in horror movies? Come on, that was the big thing, and all of a sudden they've disappeared.
Yeah, I know.
Did we go that conservative all of a sudden?
That's probably close to what it is. Yeah, I would imagine.
But I mean, I'm just gonna take
It's
a humorous
sad.
look at it too. It's like it's sad. I remember the days you just slip off slasher movie from the '80s. There's boobs, and if nothing else is going right, they've got boobs to save it.
Exactly. That's the one redeeming quality.
Exactly. If it's a bad movie, hey, look, there's a pair. Saves a movie for a guy.
Thanks, John. Now we have to make sure my wife doesn't listen to this episode.
Yeah. Crazy, you didn't hear nothing.
Exactly. Speaking of that, though, I'm kind of surprised that The Changeling was rated R. Like, I don't remember anything in that movie that should have made it rated R. Do you?
No. There was no blood. The drowning of the boy, maybe that's a little disturbing, but
yeah,
that was it. I mean, there was no big shock scare. There was no.
I don't know. They probably watched it.
Anything.
Yeah, they were like, "This movie's terrifying. It's rated R."
Well, see, when I went and done that commentary on Return of the Living Dead, which you can find at the Horrorcast, we did a commentary. I did a commentary with them guys on that. And I remember watching the documentary, and when that movie was made in 83, 84, when they went to the company and said, okay, we're going to talk about distribution, they looked at them and said, well, in our opinion, this filth is just barely above pornography. Such as, I think that's the way Siskel and Ebert thought, too.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the great zombie movies of our time, that came out in the 80s. Changed a lot of formats. Those are the first ones to just eat the brains, running zombies, and you couldn't kill them by hitting them in the brain. I mean, they started a lot of trends right there. Because when you tell somebody doing an impersonation of a zombie, what are they going to do? Brains. And that's from that movie. I mean, they started that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so the rating systems at the time were very, very obscure. I can't remember how many Friday the 13th movies had to get sent to the rating board and back and had to be cut because they said it was X-rated because of either graphics or some nudity.
Yeah, I mean, with what they can get away with now, it's just insane in comparison. Like, we talked about The Walking Dead,
yes.
I think, on the last episode. Well, this latest episode that we just finished, I mean, Negan, some of the language he uses, talking about male genitalia and what he did with that male genitalia. I can't believe they were allowed to say that, but that's a line straight out of the comic, and I was so happy that they did it.
I'm glad they did because they really needed it, because I think that defines. Now, okay, I know this is getting a little bit off topic. If people are done, they can shut it off or whatever. I don't care. With The Walking Dead. Okay, we know in the comics that, Rick has a plan, always in the back of his head, what he's going to do. He's already planning this out in the comics. And he's only confided in just a few people of what he was wanting to do. Do you think they're trying to do that in this movie, or are they trying to show that Rick is broken completely?
I think as of right now, he is broken completely, but once he meets King Ezekiel and like they all kind of come together, I think that's when he's going to get his mojo back and things will happen. But right now, I mean, I don't know. And Negan is just so damn charming. I can't help it. I don't know. He's evil, but he's charming.
Yeah, he's the guy you want to hate, but you like him, though. It's like, okay, wait a minute. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to see, I still have it in the back of my head where I was discussing it with other people, and I said, what if he just hasn't told and he's just playing this off and hasn't told anybody what he's done? He may have taken guns and hit him somewhere and just telling him that no, I wouldn't do that. I mean,
I don't think so. After that speech that he gave, like, call back to Shane, mentioned Shane, that was pretty awesome. But after that speech he gave about his daughter and everything, I mean, I don't think he's hiding anything. I think he truly is looking out for human lives rather than trying to fight back right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, he does mention numbers. He said, right now, they are outnumbered. And then Michonne mentioned we can get Hilltop. We're still outnumbered. That's where they need the kingdom, and I think that's where Jesus is going to come in and introduce him. You know, we got Carolyn Morgan also. Well, Carol ain't coming back. Whatever. They ate her. I wouldn't care at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me either. I'm
Body
done. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'd just be curious to see how they're going to play this out, because, I mean, they got so much stuff they could do, and, I mean, I hate for them to follow the comic too hard, because that kind of takes some of the story away. If you're somebody that's read the comics, then watch the show. It's like, come on, I want the show to do something a little different. I mean, you don't have to do it exact.
Well, we've still got Daryl, and so that's changing things up quite a bit still.
Yeah, and there's a rumor, this is just rumor, that I was reading that there was people talking about, they've talked with some of the crew at The Walking Dead, and they said, well, just prepare, because Daryl's probably going to be the most hated character eventually. So,
wow.
Is he going to turn coat after all? You know, is he going to be so broken that he's like, fuck it, I'm Negan? You know, and go along with it.
I could see that kind of becoming a new Dwight, because I know Dwight in the comics ends up going to the good side eventually, and so we'll see what happens. I think we should do this every episode, just kind of wrap it up with maybe a little retrospective on The Walking Dead for the last 2 weeks or whatever.
Oh, yeah, probably should, because, see, what was the week before, just the King Ezekiel episode.
Right, that was about it.
Yeah, and the thing about that one is, you know, Carol going off to be by herself, you know, she's done with it. You know, so at this point, it doesn't bother me if something was to happen to her or not, I guess. Maybe I'm heartless about it, but it's just like, she's doing her own thing, so be it, you know.
Yeah, she's such a wild card, and she's always been kind of off throughout pretty much the entire show, and at this point, I'm just over it. I don't even care anymore. She didn't want to play along with Ezekiel, and I love the King Ezekiel angle. I mean, that whole thing is cool. Amazing.
He's sitting there speaking in, you know, English terms, you know, thou hast, you know, and then he sits down there and starts talking to her normal. I'm like, look, these people wanted something to follow, and this is what I did. So I was an animal trainer at a zoo. I mean.
So we'll see what happens in upcoming weeks. I think it's going to be pretty good and maybe pretty emotional.
I think definitely Rosita is stepping up a little bit. Now, that could be her demise, though, in the end.
Yeah, not a fan of her having that pistol.
No, because, see, Rick don't know about it. Nobody knows about it. And, of course, I know Eugene winds up making the bullets and stuff. You know, that's going to come no matter what. But are they trying to rush it too hard, though? It's like, whoa, back up a little bit. Yeah, you got that gun, but like Rick said, what are they going to do if they see them out there with it? You know, who's going to die because of it? Is he going to kill her because she's got it? Or kill the one with the ammunition? Or is he going to go back to town and kill a couple of them just to prove a point? Such as the one that hoarded the guns like the idiot that he was.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, you know, Rick had that call back with, you know, Spencer whenever he's sitting there. I'm going to break your jaw and knock your teeth out. It's kind of a callback to Shane. A little bit there, too. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, so he hasn't quite lost it all yet. And, you know, he fought with some issues where he wanted to bash the guy's skull in when he was holding Lucille. I'm sure he wanted to. You could tell he wanted to.
But he's showing restraint, which is good.
You know, and I still think that's going to be a play. Yeah, he might be broken a little bit now, but I still think in the bottom he still has the fire to fight back, but he's just got to figure out how he's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, this isn't going to be our life forever.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We know in the comics he does win eventually, so.
Yes. And he wins and gets back. Whatever. Yeah.
To be determined.
Yes, to be determined. But yeah, I guess we will leave it off there. We'll have some more discussion. Like I said, we're going to talk about the 2 Maniac movies coming up here with a guest from Horror Movie Night. So got somebody coming on December. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. So, tell you what, till next time, keep horror alive and watch something that scares you, and we'll see you next time right here in the Fright Corner.